Welcome everybody to a look into the future. As always, we're asking, what would you do if you can go to the future and ask yourself questions about how do you grow your firm today? And luckily for us still, we got the time traveler himself, Paul Latham of Hay and Rock Solutions, bringing his information from the past to the present today. So as always, and you've heard us say this before, we can evolve into becoming the most relevant advisor to our clients. And today we thought we'd do something a little bit different. We got another special guest host today because we really want to talk about bringing that virtual family office to practice today. There's so many things happening in the world today, as Paul and I talk about. You're going more and more virtual than ever before. So we thought we'd bring in some of these experts that we get to work with all the day, get you exposed to them, and see how you can start to bring these into your clients, or today, sometimes how you can bring it into your own firm. So Paul, welcome back. I'm excited to get kickstarted today talking about mainly strategic alignment in the compensation space.
Yeah. Hi, Garrett. Good morning to you. But obviously in recent weeks and post-COVID and so on, we've been increasingly talking about virtual family office or expert zone, as we used to call it. And what interesting thing really recently was obviously when we've been talking generally in the past, we've usually been talking about how CPAs can use the expert zone to actually bring benefit to their clients. But this today is a case where it's the other way around, where actually the expert zone, who's Tyler, he was introduced to one of our CPA firms, and what quickly became apparent was they had a few issues with their own business and their own partner compensation. So I'll hand over to you, Tyler, and maybe you can give us a little bit of background as to what you did, high level, and how that came about.
Sure. So appreciate being on here, and just to get a little background on the case. So I was brought in. It's a regional CPA firm, and they have about 80 employees. When I was originally brought in, they said, "Hey, we want to talk about deferred compensation." And so I came in with that understanding that they wanted to talk about deferred compensation. And coming in, you're always wondering, well, what is it about deferred compensation that you think it accomplishes that you wanted to talk about it today? And what we ended up uncovering is they had three main solutions that they were looking for. The first situation they were in is they had 4 owners, and of those 4 owners, 2 were over 55 and 1 was 35 years old. We dug into their buy-sell agreement, their succession plan, and there was a forced buyout at age 62. And so what that means is that the youngest partner was going to be in a situation that he was going to have to be executing on 3 buyout events simultaneously, given the forced retirement age. The second thing they were focused on is, CPA firms, law firms, advisory firms, anyone that seems to be in the service field right now. There's a talent shortage. There's a shortage of young talent. And so that they wanted to put a plan in place that kept their most important young talent there and aligned for their entire career. And then the third thing was, to the extent that the partners were leaving money in the business in retained earnings and not taking into distributions, they just wanted to make sure there was a mechanism that they were going to get paid back on that. So those were the 3 main focuses of that specific situation. And we were able to put together a plan that helped them solve all 3.
Yeah, and Tyler, with that specific to CPA firms, how important is it to focus on alignment, especially when you do these compensation plans, alignment versus the actual mechanics of it? Because they're kind of 2 separate pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone, assuming that everyone watching this or listening to this is a CPA or is in an advisory business, we all know that we can get obsessed with the details and the mechanics of something and totally miss the most important part, which is the goals, objectives, challenges, and really strategic focus of the business. And so, I think if there was some ratio, there'd be a much bigger number that matters when you talk about focusing on alignment relative to making sure that you've got the proper mechanics. So that's absolutely 100% alignment. And then specifically to alignment, I think that if there's 2 main things that firms should be focusing on, one is improving on the line of sight between key employees and shareholders, meaning everyone knows what each other is trying to accomplish. The key employees have their own personal goals and their own career paths that they're wanting to go down, and their own personal wealth objectives and their own plan. And then the business has the exact same thing. And there needs to be an improved line of sight for both parties to know what each other is looking to accomplish, and then mechanisms that are well documented and easy to understand in order to make sure that each party is helping each other succeed. So we talk a lot about improving and focusing on the line of sight between those two parties. And then the second thing is, when we do talk about getting into the mechanics, is to the extent that you can start thinking about your compensation strategy like your investment strategy, you'll end up using these tools more effectively. And what I mean by that is that, probably everyone listening to this has an asset allocation in your personal investment portfolio, and you might have some stocks and some bonds and different asset classes that are designed to make sure that you're maximizing the amount of return you get for the amount of risk that you're taking. And in the same way, there's many assets, compensation, different asset classes within a compensation model that you want to use those to be able to maximize the return. So it shouldn't be heavily weighted all towards one or the other, cash compensation or just equity or just retirement plans. The best approach, looks at that from a holistic level, just like your investment policy statement.
Yeah, I just want to butt in there, Tyler, because I find that interesting. I mean, people who listen to this show regularly know that I talk a lot about vision, plan, and desire.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly what you're talking about with the first element, what you call the line of sight, which is essentially what I talk about, having a vision, and indeed when it comes to the team, having a shared vision, so that
Mm-hmm.
we're all looking the same way, we're all aiming the same way, but also recognizing that we want different things, and again, one of my classic metaphors is the whole bacon and eggs thing. You've got the partners who are the pigs, and you've got the team who are the chickens, and together they can make bacon and eggs, which is a great meal, but they do want different things. And getting that
Mm-hmm.
shared line of sight or vision is hugely important, and then recognizing that they want different things, and then picking up on your second aspect there, which is essentially having a sort of diversified approach to compensation. I mean, again, using my English metaphors, I sort of talk in terms of playing golf. And, if you only use one club playing golf, the driver is great off the tee, but not so good on the putting green. You use a bag of clubs for a reason, because you need all these different approaches. And my experience of CPAs is they tend to only use one club. They tend to use, whether it's the profit sharing ratio or the sort of eat what you kill model. What they don't do is play with a bunch of clubs and actually get a finessed approach to it. So yeah, I'm totally on board with everything you're saying there.
Yeah, I think, Paul, it's nice we kind of tied it back to some prior episodes, both with vision, plan, and desire, and bacon and eggs. Like, we're kind of bringing these concepts together for you. So Tyler, it's great to see you can kind of take this thing to help firms. Let's kind of pull it back to that initial thought of the virtual family office. So I'm a CPA firm today. I'm dealing with my clients in more proactively than ever before because of COVID. I'm finally becoming proactive. I'm working with them. What are 3 areas where CPA firms can look out for where they're having conversations with their clients, where they bring someone like you in that virtual family office space to do something they can't around compensation? What are kind of 3 things they should be looking for today, or questions they should ask to really kind of leverage another expert like yourself to make them more relevant to their clients?
Right. So, as you're out there having conversations, the things to really keep your ears perked to, I would say, are a few things. There's one, my top, as your clients might have businesses that they're operating or that they're invested in. The thing that I hear most regularly is my top, employee, pick the person, guy or girl, they want equity. And so, how to have that conversation and put everyone in a position to win, I would say that's a good place to start. Other things that I hear is my bonus plan is too complex, or I've got this incentive plan in place from when we acquired the company or from a former CFO, and we're not really sure. It doesn't seem to be having the effect that we want it to have. That's usually a lack of alignment. That's a lack of clarity. And it ends up costing the businesses money. When you're allocating money to if you're paying for behavior that you're not necessarily trying to incentivize, or you're allocating to something that's not that important to your growth plan, we got to switch that up and improve how those resources are being allocated. The last thing is something that I hear a lot of, which is I would like to create a pay for performance culture. And that's something that is almost universal. as a business owner, we almost never struggle with paying someone more if they're bringing in and providing more value. And what's interesting is that as operators, we would get a lot more of that if we had a organized document that allowed people to see, here's what we're trying to incentivize, and here are the rewards for accomplishing that. So those are a few of the things.
Perfect. And that can help firms, we're having more conversations with our clients, kind of bring it back to, do they have compensation plans? Do they not? If people want equity, or more than anything, are we trying to make better use of the cash we have today in an actual strategic, intelligent, planned way? And this is another great example where you can bring in other outside experts that help solve the clients your problems need that aren't a tax return. So before we wrap up, Paul, any final words of wisdom from you on how firms can continue to leverage the virtual family office?
Yeah, no, I mean, not really. I mean, I guess, Garrett, it's been the focus. To me, it's re-emphasizing the focus on vision, alignment, shared alignment. And I found it fascinating what Tyler was saying there, about sort of encouraging the type of behavior that you want. And lots of people talk about KPIs, but in my experience, they worry about KPIs before actually thinking about what they want to achieve. And if you can get those KPIs focused on the things you want to achieve and then link the KPIs to compensation plans, you're sort of onto a winner. And if you don't do that, you're probably onto a loser. So I would strongly encourage, if you've got clients or CPA businesses that are struggling with these issues, contact us. We can introduce you to Tyler. He's one of our experts, and I'm confident he could do a good job for you. So well done. Thank you, Tyler.
Perfect. So Tyler, last question for you. What's been the most interesting thing you've seen working with CPA firms in this virtual family office environment?
Most interesting thing from like a specific case situation, or
from working with the CPA firms. Not take the cases away from this virtual family office relationship, which is different than maybe operated before, where you had a referral network.
I'd say the most interesting thing is how eager CPA firms are jumping behind the momentum of integrating with a virtual family office. They're more open-minded than I would have imagined, having worked with a lot of CPAs in close proximity to me, that more and more CPA firms are getting excited about that model. And from my perspective, it's terrific if I can work with anyone from anywhere in the country and provide value in these different pockets of the country. And so it's been the willingness that's been the most interesting part.
Perfect. So your CPA firm out there, be willing, bring the virtual family office, be the most relevant advisor to your clients. So thank you as always for watching. Thank you, Paul and Tyler, for stopping by. And take a minute if you're watching this to see how ready you are for that future. Sign up for your own free biz survey and get an objective assessment of your vision, plan, and desire, like you just heard us talk about time and time again. There's a link below. I encourage you to click on it, take the test, see how ready you are for the future, how well you aligned are for success. Don't forget, you can click to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay up to date with all of our new episodes. And as always, we challenge you today to take action to change the world and invest in yourself.